This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Strap yourself in,
because we're set up, switched on and ready to go.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
Good afternoon, Fox fans. How the devil are we? I tell you what, it helps if I press the right buttons, doesn't it? And hopefully, even when I'm pressing the right buttons, it's not working. There I am. You thought I wasn't here. I tell you what, it's not water, this, it's champagne. Whoa, what was that? Potential banana skin? No, it was never in doubt, was it? 5 of the best from Leicester City. Leicester City 5, Sheffield United 0. We won.
Yes! 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 Oh! 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 Oh, God. Oh. I'll have what she's having.
Come on, how do we feel? Do you not feel like that after the 5th one went in? It was men against boys out there today, wasn't it? Could have been 6, 7, or even 9. That was Inacho's first Premier League hat-trick. Even Perez scored. Was it better than sex?
It's the post-match show with special guest, ex-Fox Julian Watts.
Let's ask Julian what he thinks. Julian, was that better than sex for you?
I think if it was Chris, you must be doing it wrong.
I am a single man now, so come on.
No, it was a great performance. Makes for an enjoyable afternoon watching that. Very, very comfortable. And I think at 1-0 we might have worried a little bit, but once that second one went in, it was, like I say, it was a done deal.
Going to say welcome back to Matthew Bond, back after an absence. I was worried, Matthew. Where have you been? Did you break down abroad? Nice to have you back, mate. Welcome back. Michael Gamble, yes, you told me there would be goals. Indeed, you did. And as Stephen Collins says, what the hell has just happened? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to have a chat. Let's bring Brad in. And I know for Brad, that was better than sex for you, wasn't it, Brad?
It's been that long, I forgot what that feels like. So, yeah, it was. It was about as close to excitement and euphoria as I've been getting recently. So it was definitely much needed.
A happy ending last week and better than sex this week. I am definitely doing something wrong here, aren't I? Julian, no match midweek. I think it made a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest. I thought Sheffield United were really, really awful. You talk about a team that look and are going down. They just look like they had no fight whatsoever. Thought they made it really, really easy for us. They didn't really press us that much in our half. So, you know, the fact that we have had a bit of a breather and the fact of the opposition was in front of us. And at the end of the day, we've still got to go and play and beat what's in front of you. And we did it convincingly. It was one-way traffic all the way through. I don't think they had a shot on target. I saw that stat appear or pop up near the end of the game, and they did not have anything on target, which you know, for them is really, really poor. But we did the job. And I think at 1-0, when there was a few chances that went by from Vardy that you could have sort of started to worry a little bit that it might, they might go up the other end and get one. But like I said, as soon as that second one went in, it was just such an easy game to play for the lads.
I know, Brad, that you don't like stats at all, but I think even you are going to have to say that these are going to be worth looking at. And just sort of picking up on what Julian said there, not one shot on goal. Yeah. They had one shot in the whole game. We had, I mean, look at that. We had 19 shots, 10 on target. I mean, it was men against boys, wasn't it?
That's disrespectful to the under-23s, isn't it? Because they were worse than that. We just said, didn't we, just before we came on, that was worse than like a League Two opposition getting a bonus tie in the FA Cup third round and getting humbled by a side putting out a strong squad. It was worse than that, wasn't it? They weren't just played like a side that were down. They played like a side that was ready for Blackburn next week in the Championship. Like the Reds were already there, and it was just, like Julian says, you're going to beat what's in front of you. Certain teams, Manchester United, have failed to do that at some point this season against Sheffield United, and they have shown. Be
careful. They may say Fulham back to us.
Well, yeah, but I'll take that. I'll take that after the comprehensive victory, and I think it was needed because the last couple of games. I mean, before we played Burnley, let's go back to that. We sat here, didn't we, guys? And we said we need about 7 points. I said 7 points needs to be taken out of Burnley, Brighton, and Sheffield United, and we've done that. And I think that might, just for me, when you look at our run of games, we've got 4 or 5 games of teams not really doing much or they're in trouble, like Newcastle, Southampton, etc. As long as we do the same there, I think top 4's pretty much sewing up already. I think that has probably done us enough to not be so panicky about top 4.
Yeah, as Bookline says there, just to cut in, 7 points in 3 banana skin games. That's what we were talking about, as you just pointed out then, Brad. Yeah. Good afternoon, Bookline. Julian, lose the manager.
Good afternoon.
Lose the manager, Julian, and they are not down yet. And I expect once a team usually wants to actually mathematically down, they start playing better because the pressure's off and they can just go out and enjoy it. But they've just lost the manager. They're still not mathematically down yet. There was just no fight in them, wasn't it? I mean, I thought they would go out and give a performance to sort of say, this is for you, Chris. Not me, Chris Wilder, I should say.
Yeah, I think they're lucky that the fans weren't in the ground today because, I've played a game when, I've been in a relegated team and played the last game of the season. We were already down. And what the fans want to see is some fight. I mean, it's not mathematically over, but it is over, especially with performances like that. They are going to get relegated. But, even at that point, the fans are still with you. If you go out there and you give 100% and you get your tackles in, but they didn't really lay a finger on us as opponents today. It was such a passive performance. I've got quite a few mates who are Unitedites, and they'll be so unhappy with that. And it was just for us to go out there and do what we did, and we did it in absolute style. And there was some massive sort of positives performance-wise from individuals and as a team. So great day for us, sad day for Sheffield United. I know Chris, and really honest, hard-working guy, and what's happened to him this week doesn't really seem right, but that's football. The decisions are made, I've said it before, by people at the top who probably aren't football people, but they've got the money so they can pay the money and make the decisions. But sad for the club, for Sheffield United, but like I say, some real good positives for us today.
Just to stick with you for a minute there, Julian, then, because as you just said then, Chris Wilder, the stories that are coming out are that he walked, although they said it's mutual, decision, that he walked. And I having spoken to Rob in the Sheffield United in the Opposition View show, and then we got Jeff in the preview show, both of those saying that he didn't get on with the owner, and, he wanted to do things his way. And he's he comes across as a proud man, and as a manager, And yes, all right, he's not made the best signings this year. Both the Sheffield United fans said that. But there was talk about them bringing a football director in, but he wants to run that team his way. He's the manager.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that at Newcastle. I'm trying to think of who went in, and it was someone who didn't actually get on with the manager. And, you know, if you're bringing a director of football, and it needs to be someone that you know and you trust, because you can't have that guy behind your back going to the chairman and saying, actually, he's not doing a great job here. You know, so, and as far as Chris goes, I don't know, you know, the mutual consent thing, he's a massive United fan, you know, and he's loved being manager of that club, and he's put his heart and soul into it. So for him to leave on whatever circumstances, he would have been really happy. I did hear some rumours around the January time that he'd got 4 transfer targets that he wanted to bring into the club, and from higher up in the club, he wasn't allowed to do that. And I think that may have been the sort of start of the downfall of that relationship, because, like I say, they were, from the names that I heard, he'd got some real good potential signings to come in, but it wasn't okayed by the people with the purse strings, and again, in that position, they probably did need to invest a bit more in the team to have a chance of staving off relegation.
I think the two Sheffield United fans again said, both of them virtually sort of said, they've got the Prince Harry of the Saudi royal family. He's the one member of the royal family over there with no money. Brad, I mean, Kurt saying here, quite rightly, we'll come on to the game in a second. Evening, lads. Evening, Kurt. Nice to have you along. To think we're all shouting to get rid of Nacho in January. I mean, when I did my score predictions, and I've been pretty boring for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've always gone for a 2-1. It came off against Brighton. But I always thought that watching Leicester, that we could always concede a goal. The defence, with the problems we've had with injuries at the back, we always looked like whenever we played, we could concede a goal. But let's face it, our Thai owners could have opened a brothel next door to the ground, and Sheffield United would still be there trying to score, wouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of them games that we've been fortunate enough not to say that too many times about our own side throughout the season. That I think you could have played another 90 minutes and Sheffield United, not only would have not scored, but Leicester would have easily broken many a record. I think they'd have scored about 15 goals in total if they'd have played another 90 minutes the way it was going. It was just one of them. I think you've pretty much summed up Sheffield United. There's so much trouble going on in and around the club. Chris Wilder is Sheffield United born and bred, through the things. He's dragged them through the divisions. It's a bit weird, the dismissal, and I did say it at the point when I heard about it. I don't get it. It was strange, even if you think it's a foregone conclusion that the down, before today's performance, he's the guy you want there, and the players and the fans would have wanted to have built them back up and who knows, fire them, because they're a good side, Sheffield United, and last year they earned a lot of praise and a lot of plaudits from fans. And maybe that January thing was more the owner saying, "I'd rather save the money and have us go down and not fall into a be able to rebuild from there." I don't know. There's only a handful of people that know what went on at Sheffield, to be honest with you, with what happened with that. You must have love Benny. Sorry, I just got distracted by Brookline with his comment there.
You got distracted by Benny Hill, haven't we all in the past? I think he was referring to my jokes. Rob, going to say good evening to Rob. Great to eat humble pie. Nacho is king. He changed last week. I tell you what, Nacho, I'm prepared to eat humble pie, and even Perez had a good game today. But Vardy didn't get on the score sheet. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. It was one of the posts I put up where we scored, Julian. Vardy, Inacho and Perez. We win 5-0. I never thought I'd be putting Perez, Inacho hat-trick and Perez as scorer and not have a Jamie Vardy there. But in the last 3 games against Sheffield United, he scored or he has provided an assist. We're seeing another side to Jamie Vardy, aren't we? Where he's not going to get us maybe 20 goals a season, but he's going to be involved in 20 games a season.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people questioning his form, and I'm not really on that bandwagon, if I'm honest. I think that, he's got a lot to his game. I think he's been missing a lot of service with Maddison being out, and people are saying he's not running in behind, but it's just the fact that he's not had the same quality behind him providing for him. And we saw today that, the Perez pass for the first goal, and that's what he feeds off. And if he's got players that are capable of, putting those passes through that are dissecting a back four or a back five, he'll get onto them. Because what I noticed today, I thought the front, if you call Perez the front three, they worked so well together. As soon as we got the ball high up the pitch, they were always making positive runs, allowing Perez to stay in that pocket and get on the ball. And for me, that was one of the huge positives. And again, we shouldn't get carried away either way with Iheanacho and Perez. They're both good players, both had bad times, but against a different team, it would be harder for them. But today, they really thrived in that atmosphere of what they were, or what was put in front of them. And I thought the link-up play between them was fantastic. Vardy never stopped running and created the 2 goals. And then obviously the third one, the OG. So I thought he put a great shift in today. And I think, I think from now you'll see, I think Perez and Iheanacho, they sort of seem to play with a smile on their face. It's like the confidence is back. Perez in a position probably that he would, if he was picking the team himself, he would put himself in the 10 role that he played today. Iheanacho's been more involved and more likely to be involved, so it might be a confidence thing with him, because they certainly had a spring in the steps, and they showed that with the goals and the performances.
Indeed, and Brad, I mean, I said in the pre-match show with Josh that it is only Sheffield United, and but you can only play what's in front of you. This week it happened to be Sheffield United. Earlier in the season, though, Iheanacho and Perez probably wouldn't have played the way they played today. We look at the Fulham games and games like that earlier on in the season, but it clicked today. And if you were basing it on today's game, you'd have those 3 up front every time, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you take it off that basis. There was a lot that went right today, and like you say, you don't want to get carried away. You don't want to read too much into it. But considering you're talking one striker got a hat trick and one missed 3 Vardy style chances, you'd still argue that Vardy was probably, you could argue with him being man of the match today, because he did the.
Oh, I think Brad has frozen Julian.
I know he got praise things he does off the ball. He got 2 assists today. He would have got a third had it not been for an own goal, because I think that was going straight through to Kalichi for it, which would have been his 4th. You're talking about a player that just summed himself up in a nutshell. He missed 3 chances, couldn't get on the score sheet for love nor money today, and still found a way to be very impressive.
You might want to reload because you keep freezing.
Right, I don't know what's going on, lads, because you're not.
But I mean, Julian, I felt somebody said here, you fickle fans, but that's just being a football fan, isn't it? We love a player 1 minute, the next minute, he scores, he doesn't score, we hate him. Then he gets a hat trick, we love him. That's just what being a fan is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's supporters. I've got, I think I look at the game differently, but definitely as a supporter, you do. They can, someone can miss a sitter and is the worst player on the pitch, and the next week, and particularly with Iheanacho, he's chipping in with the goals, and then it seems to sort of extend into his performance. I thought he linked up really well today. Perez looked so happy on the pitch today, but again, he was allowed to play in that number 10 role, obviously because we matched their shape with the 3 centre backs, that he was allowed in there. And against a better team, he probably wouldn't get that freedom and might have to do a bit more work coming back. But it's certainly something that's really positive that the manager can look on again as a possibility. And you might try that, because if you can force your formation on another team, you can have that effect on them, and maybe you don't have to do the defensive work. So it just clicked really, really well today. And like I say, I talked earlier about a lot of positives out of the game today, and that for me was the biggest, which was those 3 players, the way they linked, the way they worked, obviously the goals coming from them as well. I thought there were some outstanding performances.
Mark Chorner, I can just say, I can't believe that you've come on to this chat and you've used that sort of language. Mark, I am really disappointed that you have used the T word. I can't believe it. I can't. You said Peter Taylor. How dare you, sir? How dare
Ban
you
him.
know that
Get
was
him
a bad
banned.
word
Get him
here?
banned. Come on. No swearing on here like that. That's the penalty. That comes under the C word and everything, mate. You can't use that word on here.
But Brad, I mean, again, yes, we are fickle. I'll admit, totally, I am fickle. I can say that is being a fan. But as Andy said here, good afternoon to you, not Andy, but welcome along if I haven't. 2-0 down, the Heads were in it. I mean, the surprise for me is that we only went in at 1-0. But once we got that second goal, to be honest with you, I just thought the floodgates were going to open, which they virtually did.
Yeah, and you know, if you really want to try and somehow be a bit of a negative Nelly on this one and try and pick out something that wasn't completely positive, it was literally the fact we came in half time only 1-0 up. But Sheffield United looked like a panic side that were just there to make up the 11 players that Leicester had to play against today, because they had about 9 men behind the ball. So, you know, it was just one of them. And even then, you know, obviously we found a way to eventually break them down. A few people that I saw through the game will message me. And I mean, I had the joys of Chris Sutton on commentary today when I was listening to it.
That's was, almost up there with the T word,
I know,
the S word.
But it was very nice to hear him have to bite his tongue and actually give us some praise. So I did enjoy it a little bit, but I have to agree with him, which is not something I always do, obviously. But he even said that even in the first half, the one downside you could say about Leicester is I think they expected Sheffield United to be defensive, but I don't think they expected them to be that defensive and that negative. And once we got going and the flowing started, you could see a goal coming. And I think if we'd have got it going maybe 5 or 10 minutes earlier than we did, we probably would have come in half-time 2-0 up anyway. It was just a case of when it's 1-0, no matter who you're playing, you always feel like that second goal's needed. And like you said, once Perez hit that one in for 2-0, even if you thought there was only going to be one winner from the start anyway, there definitely was after that, and it just showed throughout to the final whistle which side was where they are.
Yeah, Julian, I mean, I've put down here before we did even score, Inacho was having a good game generally, and then they sort of said that Sheffield United failed to score or have failed to score in the opening 45 minutes in 23 Premier League games. It's now, well, it was 22, it's now 23. I've got to give credit to Soyuncu because I thought, and I have been critical of him, I was critical of him pre-match. I don't like 3 at the back. I prefer the 4, but, he's gone with the 3. He seems to be sticking with that. It came off today. But I thought Soyuncu, who's not looked comfortable in that back 3 role for the last couple of games against these teams towards the bottom, he wasn't bothered, was he? I mean, I know this is only Sheffield United, but, no disrespect, you make a mistake as a defender, and it quite often leads to a goal. But I thought Soyuncu had a decent game today.
I thought it was excellent. And, like I say, they didn't really put us under a lot of pressure. Formation-wise, we matched their formation. So, that made life quite easily positionally. The back 3 didn't have a lot to do. What they did well. I know Fofana got their header for the goal and, set that off rolling. But like I say, with the shots, they had 1 shot, none on target. It wasn't a troubling afternoon. I think looking at that stat that you mentioned about Sheffield United not scoring in the opening half, I think the way they set up against teams is always, everywhere they go, they're sitting quite deep. And that's, when you're having to ask your strikers to drop back into their own half, if you do win the ball back, you've got little options or not really anywhere to go. So I feel like they sort of like sit back and try and soak up as much as they can, and then hopefully maybe change your gear in the second half. But obviously when you go a goal down, that plan A is straight out of the window, and then obviously the second goal comes out, goes in. And it's very difficult when you're in that mindset. I think we've touched on this before, that when you sit back and it's in your mindset that we're sitting back, we're keeping the other team in front of us, to then have to change that, right on its head, 180 degrees, and say, right, now we're actually going to get at them and we're going to go forward. It's quite a difficult thing, for a team to change midway through a game. And like Andy said, at 2-0, they look gone. For me, the performance, it looked like a group of players, and they would have had a really close relationship with Chris, because I know 3 of them who started today came through, from the League One days, and they looked like, this week's news has really affected them. There was no spark whatsoever in any one of the players. Billy Sharp's normally running around kicking a few people. He's got that aggression in him. I didn't see any of that from any of the players. It just looked like everything. It was like a big downer on the performance, and they couldn't seem to get out of that, and hence the way they played and the way we played, and the end result of it.
And Andy, I'm going to presume that you've done the maths more than me. You're saying there we just need to win 5 more games and we're guaranteed Champions League football. Brookline says here, and I'm going to bring this point up with you in a second, Brad. One small detail I like: Vardy curved his runs and stayed onside and worked the channels, attacked from the sides. Tell you what, and he's never been slow in getting back to defend, but I thought, to be honest with you, Vardy was all over the pitch today.
Yeah, and something else I've also been noticed, so was Kelechi Iheanacho. I saw him picking up the ball, and, something that confidence brings. He was picking up the ball in his half, and instead of being a bit loose with his foot in and getting the ball stuck underneath him, he took that ball in his stride. He turned and tried to find Vardy on the front foot. And I know we don't want to get carried away with it, but I made a point actually on Leicester City FC that obviously they do their post-match straight afterwards. And I said, not to get carried away, but have we just seen that Leicester have been working on a way to get another full season out of Vardy, when maybe, people have questioned things are dropping off a little bit with Vardy, which is natural. He's 34 and he's a defying age, isn't he, for a footballer at the top level of a game. Normally, if you see a 34-year-old in the Premiership, they're at a West Brom, Southampton, sort of low league positions, which is no disrespect to the clubs, still Premier League strikers, but they're not normally competing at the top echelons of football. And I felt today that he's got 2 assists, and he could have got a third, and he today he kind of went, right, it's not happening for me in front of goal, I'm going to turn provider. And people like myself, and I'm sure at points you guys have been the same, thinking that if Iheanacho was going to click at Leicester, he needed to be in a front 2, not trying to replicate Vardy and do it on his own. Have we maybe just seen a way that, where Leicester fans' heads may have been going, well, Vardy might become more of a bit part player next season? If this is how it's going to go forward, and I know we've still got Harvey Barnes, and you'll have to fit that in around it because he's obviously a left-sided player. But if you can find a way to get Maddison, Nacho, Vardy, Barnes, etc. in a side, do you need to change too much if they can work on it now? Because he provided something today, and his pace ran them ragged today. Despite the quality of the opposition, he looked like a player that was still just as good and capable.
I know what you said. I think we've run out of time now, Brad.
Yeah. I always have my one man. I saved it for that moment. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be short, sweet answers from now on.
Good night, everybody. It's Monday morning. How are we feeling? I'm going to say a hello to Rich from Rich Sports, a big Man United fan. He's going to be coming on Thursday night to talk to us about the FA Cup game. A little bit worried, are we, Rich? I would be. I mean, if you've just watched that game, yes. Can I just say, like you, Rich, I think Ollie's doing a good job this year, but I hope West Ham get a point off you today.
I do as well.
Mark Chorner here. Yeah, Mark Chorner here. Thought Les Barler looked very lively when he came on. Another great prospect. Iheanacho showing his Manchester City form. We've all said he's had a good game. Good evening to Max Pickering. How the devil are you, Max? Welcome along. I think it's the first time I've seen you on here. Welcome along. Great result. It is indeed. And we've got to say hello and welcome to him. It wouldn't be the show without our resident Villa fan, Stefan Felix. Good evening, Stefan. How the devil are you? I've seen you've tried to join the group on Facebook as well. You must be happy with the score. We are, and I'm glad to say that Villa fans are still watching Leicester to see how to play a good game of football. There we go. Nice to have you along. Julian, half-time, Ricardo came off, Albrighton came on. I still haven't seen why that happened. Was it just, I mean, it was like for like. Was it just to give Ricardo a rest or just, I don't know. It was, you could say it's almost like for like.
Yeah, I would say at that point of the game, he must have had an issue. And it could be just something that he's feeling, a slight strain, and rather than, go and, exacerbate it, just give him that breather that he needs. Obviously, Albrighton can come in and play that role all day long. Like I say, I've not seen anything either, Chris, but I would assume that's the case. If you were resting someone, you'd probably let them play 60 minutes and then drag them. But for it to be a half time, that's when they've gone in, spoke to the physios, this is the issue, blah, blah, what are we going to do about it? And the decisions then made, and like I say, we've got the right person to come in and fill that spot for him. So no harm done, and hopefully it's nothing too serious.
It's possibly saved, made him available for next week. We've got so many injuries, we can't afford any more. I want to just again stick with you, if I can, Julian, as an ex-player, because what I noticed, and it was commented on the BBC site as well, was that after Iheanacho got his third goal, which Vardy had just played a marvellous curved ball behind their players for him to score, he made a point of going over to Vardy, pointing at Vardy, and basically giving him a bear hug. And it's nice to see, when players score and they actually acknowledge the help they got with the setup.
Yeah, I mean, you can see, I mean, they do that anyway, but I think you can see with that they have got a good relationship. I mean, in the squad, 6 months ago, they'd probably be classed as rivals. Obviously, today, being on the pitch together, it changes that a little bit. But you do find that you get that camaraderie in the positions that you play in. You have, I always got on great with Matty Elliott, and unfortunately for me, he played a lot when in my absence, kind of thing. So, but we still had a great relationship, and you backed each other up, and it was just the same with those two guys today. He's realised today that Jamie Vardy's put in a great shift, worked hard, provided goals for him. Put him. I mean, the first one was absolutely on a plate, really poor defending, but still have to get in there and finish it. And Vardy was at it all afternoon. His movement was absolutely fantastic right through, as was. And I think you're talking about. I think Brad said that Iheanacho got back in and tackled as well. I think when he looks at Jamie Vardy doing that, it gives you that inspiration, and that's what I need to be doing as well. And all three of them, I thought Perez worked hard, and I thought he had a good game. I thought all three of them were really lively, and it would be interesting, even against better teams, to see if we could keep those three on the pitch together, because they look like they'd cause a problem for any team.
I mean, it's nice to look at this again, Brad, and this is the table post-match. We're up to second. We know that might not be there for long, depending on the Man United West Ham result later. But it doesn't show it there. But one thing I hadn't realised is that apart from Manchester City, we have won more games than any other team in the Premier League.
Yeah, but it's just testament to the fact that we've not dropped, to the stats that we've acquired over the season. We've never dropped out the top four. And I don't want to jinx it, but that doesn't look like changing unless something dramatic happens at Leicester to change that. Ooh. That's why I put the safety. That's why I put the safety unless in there. And I think it's just testament to the lads digging in deep. Sometimes through Brendan's tenure, he's been questioned, and I've never liked it because it's a difficult division to play in. But sometimes a lot of our fans are questioning, this is where Brendan's goes from can't quite be classed as a world-class manager, because when they need to take advantage of results, they don't do it. They bottle these big games. There was a lot of questions last season about that semi-final against Villa, and I think this was it. This was a performance that kind of shut that up a bit, because I came out after the Burnley game against Everton yesterday, and Leeds drawing with Chelsea, and I said that's two huge games. And I stated, because if Leicester won today, which they have, obviously we've gone on to do, forget this talk about West Ham and Chelsea. It's all about getting rid of your opposition lower than that. So the least competition you have for these spots, the better. Everton are now, who were main talks for top four with Carlo Ancelotti being in charge, you know, two months ago, were up there as one of the sides that might sneak in with Leicester to break up that top four. They're 10 points behind us. They're 10 points behind us. All them games in hand that they were whispering about and saying they could catch up and do this and do that. Look where they are now. 10 points behind Leicester, and they're sixth. I think Spurs might have taken that if they are 1-0 up, like someone commented. But they're still 9 points. West Ham, if they draw or lose, I mean, I actually, as much as I'd love to finish second, the fact that we'd still be within a point of Manchester United, if I had to pick a perfect result, it would be the draw today. I just feel that we're starting, if we keep doing what we're doing and we get these statement wins like we have done today, there's not a chance that these teams can catch us because they're more inconsistent than we have been. And I think I just got a good feeling now.
Julian, I forgot what I was going to say now. Stephen Collins says here, just bring it up. Shout out for the ladies team today. Great win against Durham. I think the ladies could have beaten Sheffield United, couldn't they? And that's no disrespect to the ladies team that they're going to hopefully get promotion, but it's true. And it is only Sheffield United, and they did play awful. And somebody, Rob said here, Phil, don't get carried away. Sheffield United at the lowest ebb of the season. But somebody posted before we got the first goal, you could see this being one of those games where Leicester have all the chances, we can't put it away, and then they nip up in the 89th minute and score one and beat us 1-0. And that was what was pleasing for me, is that it's very easy to say, only Sheffield United, they've lost the manager, they're at the bottom of the league. You've still got to go out there and beat them, and we did that easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think at 1-0, I wasn't sort of worried. Watching the game, I just felt like it. We were in sort of second gear. It was played for us at such a canter, and I couldn't believe, what I was actually seeing. So, they did have to beat what was in front of them, as we keep saying, and we did it. It was a great performance, and they weren't there today, Sheffield United, and we were. And it's got to really spur us on going into the next games. And like Brad says, we don't want to jinx anything, but the other teams below us have still got to win all their games, as we win ours as well. So that top four spot, I know we've got harder fixtures right at the death of the season, but we're looking like a really good team at the moment. We've got the injuries that we've had, we've sort of really managed unbelievably well, I feel, with them, because, I know Liverpool are saying they've had a similar or worse injuries, and look where they are, which just again shows what we've had. We've had a few younger players coming in, done good jobs, and we've got a few players hopefully coming, back in the coming weeks. We're in a really good place, really, really good place. They were saying, I think the commentator said today, this isn't Leicester's strongest 11, but it wasn't a million miles away for me.
No. I'm going to come on to you in a second, Brad, because I've been waiting to ask you this all show. I just want to ask Julian one quick question. The point I've got down here is what I was impressed with today was our closing down. And we haven't been doing that, I don't think, in recent games. But my God, we were going through every ball. We lost the ball, we won it back. There was a 50-50. We were in for it, and most of the time we were winning it, and that was good to see.
Yeah, and you do. I think as a player, when like I said, the opposition didn't really press us, but you can get encouraged by what's in front of you if it's not that good. And like today, that wasn't a team that were at us, and we managed to win the ball back quickly. And then it just encourages you to do it more and more and more. And you feel like you're on the front foot and you need to keep on top of them. And because they sat back so deep, we were always pushing high up the pitch. And, so those loose balls were coming out, and we had someone there or thereabouts. And Perez was in that little hole, so he was able to do, close down from those areas. So, yeah, I think we did do it really well, and we were encouraged to do it by what was in front of us, the poor opposition. But yeah, it was good to see, and there's nothing better than when you do lose the ball, winning it straight back and just maintaining that pressure that we did today. Because I think from the possession start, the pressure that United came under was immense. And like Brad said, if we'd have gone in maybe 2 at half time, the second half could have been another like a Southampton result. So I think that was why today. But it does help when we can do that and win it back so quickly.
Brad, we've had the T word today. Still shake at that. We've had the S word. I'm now going to mention the P word because we have been very critical of this guy in the past. He obviously, and I said this in the pre-match when we saw that he'd been picked. Obviously, there is something Brendan likes about him. As soon as he's fit, he brings him back in. When we might have chosen somebody else. His performance tonight or this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, look, you said it earlier about Iheanacho, where quite a big, I'd imagine quite a big base of our fan base would have to eat a lot of humble pie over the last 3 performances. About Iheanacho, and I was one of them that probably was more of a support of Iheanacho that wanted him to come through, and you were vice versa with Perez. I was a doubter of him, and I have to eat humble pie today, and I'm happy to eat it before anyone gives me stick in the comments, because I've not been a very big advocate of him. I've criticised him when he's not turned up and performed. In my opinion, I felt he rightly deserved the criticism he's got throughout the season when he's just not turned up and he's not played and he's not involved. But today, he did his job. He was in a role, like Julian said earlier, that he much prefers, and he'd probably pick himself to play in. And he stepped up and did the mark. So I've got to credit where he did. He got a goal. Ironically, it was picked up on my stream. His last 3 goals have all come against Sheffield United, ironically.
Yeah.
Which was quite a funny start. So unfortunately, he probably missed them going down next season. But take nothing away from him. Maddison.
That's his goal next season gone out the window, isn't it?
Yeah. But take nothing away from him. When the panic amongst the fans, probably more than the fans than anything set in, when Maddison injured and Barnes got ruled out for numerous weeks, that's a good score to see pop up. We kind of maybe doubted where we was going to fill that, and there was probably a handful of fans that maybe didn't even consider Perez to step into that role. They weren't even considering him as a name to throw in the mix to step in for Maddison, despite despite his determination to want to play that role as well as Maddison. And he's done his job. He's put the shirt on today, and he's put in a terrific performance. And I tip my hat to you. I'm going to enjoy my humble pie, Perez.
Yeah, I've eaten a lot of humble pie today with both Iheanacho, who I was a big fan of, then I criticised him, and he has come forward. And I'm going to come back to Iheanacho at the moment, but if I don't do this, I'll be suffering all day.
I was just about to say
good afternoon to my daughter here. Yes, Heather, I do know when I see your name, I do know you are my daughter. And why aren't you with your mother on Mothering Sunday? That's what I want to know. Get the earache for that offer later.
Yeah,
I want to stick with you, Brad, because you are the modern version of our Lord Christ Jesus. But a lot of Man City fans, well, not a lot. There was a Man City fan that was in the BBC chat as the game was on. Who was really saying a lot of good things about Iheanacho and the fact that he would sooner have Iheanacho back than Jesus. Oh, Jesus. I don't. He's not pronounced it, but you know who I mean. Up Man City, they would sooner have Iheanacho back. And I'm thinking, like, my God, yes, we are fickle, but yeah, he is in such a good form.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe just maybe, and it's quite emphatically stated with his performance today, obviously, but just maybe to upfront the way he's going. Someone commented earlier that he was like his Man City days, and I think me and Julian, and probably yourself, at some points when we were discussing that show, have said when he was at Man City and getting goals, he always had the caliber of players. He had a Kevin De Bruyne with him. He had a Sergio Aguero, and maybe Brendan's looked at that. Maybe that's where he's tried to work with Iheanacho over the coming, the last, months or since he's arrived and gone, right. This is how they got the best out of your Man City. How can we implement it here? And, it might only be 3 games. He's got 5 goals in them 3 games. Maybe we have found that nestle that if he works around, if he's in and around players like Vardy, like Maddison, like Barnes, like Perez when he turns up and he has a game like today, you're going to see him, you're going to reap the benefits of what he does by getting these goals. Because, you're talking about a striker who's scored 5 goals in 3 games, and I'd say 2 of them are contender for goal of the season for Leicester City. So he's proved in the last 3 games he can do it. Now, as long as they stick with it, which I'm sure they will, he keeps doing it because it was just a fantastic performance.
Heather, I think you are actually sat with my son at the moment because you do not even know who these players are, bless you. We played well even without Barnes or Maddison. Let's be honest with you, the one player that you know is Casper, and you haven't mentioned him yet. So I do have a feeling that Sean may be feeding you these lines.
Passing notes across between the family.
I think so. I think that's going on here. Julian, it's hard from that to pick out a man of the match, but let's just have a look at what we're looking at here from Alan, who always obviously picks out our man and rates the manager and the team. And I'm just trying to find it here. It helps if I scroll up, and I haven't uploaded it. Who would your man of the match be? You tell us that while I just try and upload this.
Again, I've talked about them already, but I thought the top, if we're talking about Perez as the top 3, those 3 players, thought they were ever so lively, worked well together. If you're going on pure football, you'd probably look at Vardy. I'd give it Iheanacho today. He's coming out of what's been a tough spell for him, and it's now clicking for him. I agree with what Brad said earlier, but when we do criticise players, they probably deserve the criticism. Perez, whether out of position or not, has sometimes put in substandard performances for what we're expecting at Leicester City in the Premier League, and same with Iheanacho. But rightly then today, when they do put a great performance in, we have to give them praise as well. So, and I thought Perez was excellent today as well. But just for the goals, the spectacular one was a great strike. But just doing what a striker does, I'd be more happy as a manager seeing that he's getting into those areas and just, like the first one from Vardy, tapping it in. But he showed the desire to get in there and the defender didn't. And that's why it was such an easy goal for him. But you've got to be making those runs constantly as a striker. And that, as a manager, would make me very happy. So I'll give it to Kalichi today. The goals were excellent. The work rate, the performance, everything. Looks like he's got a smile on his face and a spring in his step. So hopefully that continues.
Alan has actually, I managed to get it up. Thank you for that. Alan went for Iheanacho there, and he's given the manager 9 and the team 9. We keep saying it was only Sheffield United, but they're still got to put the performance in. Agree with that, Brad?
Yeah, I do agree with what Julian said, and I'll send you the tenner over PayPal for agreeing with me there, Julian. Cheers for that. But yeah, he does deserve it. I think he deserves man of the match. I think it was brilliant to see Vardy show. I think he showed today, he's got another side to his game, and not to forget that he's the creator and he can do things to help out the side. If he's not putting the ball in the net, he might have been having a boxing match with Iheanacho. He scored his 3 chances today, but I think man of the match was deserved for Nacho. He's got a match ball that he can box and frame and put on his mantelpiece when he gets home, and he can enjoy the performance of a confidence boosting, hat trick that he's done well. He's ticked the boxes, and I think he's very worthy of man of the match. I think if the goals had been more spread around, you might have been fighting for it, but because he got a hat trick, I think you've got to give him as well, to be honest with you.
His first hat trick in the Premier League. I think somebody mentioned this earlier. the next games that are coming up will define our season. You can always say that because we were saying that before these 3 games that we've just played, and we said, we all said earlier to come out with 7 points against Burnley, all 3 potentially banana skins, Brighton and Sheffield United. They are games we should be winning, and we are winning. But Julian, these are the games that are coming up. It would be nice. It would be nice to go one step further than last season and get into the semi-finals, and we get a trip to Wembley, of course, on that. And if we can get to the final, they are talking about some fans being available. And then we've obviously got Man City at home. God help us with that. They're a different proposition to when we beat them 5-2 at the start. And West Ham, who for me are the surprise team of the season. I'm going to be totally honest with you. But if we can do well there, like you say, semi-finals, and then I'd probably take a draw and a win from the Man City and West Ham games, if I'm honest with you. But if we can get 4 points from those games, it pretty much tees us up, doesn't it?
It does. I think 4 points it's not a massive ask, but it's a tall order. Obviously, the Man City that we played earlier in the season, they've really clicked since then. John Stones' form's been excellent alongside Diaz. So, they're looking like they're in a really strong place, and the form shows that. With the Cup, it'd be great. I think, every year we're talking about the top 4. Obviously, that's the main target, but it would be lovely, to be competing in the final and bringing some silverware back. And it'd like be the icing on the cake with the top 4 finish. So I think in those 3 games, for me, the West Ham's the big one. Obviously, if we can put some real distance between, us and them, and we're sitting around 5th place. And I think that would be, for me, we win that game. And I think, 4th is absolutely nailed on. Like I said, but yeah, it'd be nice now just to come away from the league a bit, look at that semi-final. Maybe you might try a few different things. Not sure with what formation or personnel, but I hope that we do like you did in Europe. Put a strong team out and show the intent that we're going there to win the game, and that'd be fantastic. So something to look forward to.
It's great, Brad, isn't it, that we've not. It's not good that we're not in the Europa League. I'd still like to be in that. I'd love to have played Rangers. But the fact that we're not is great because we've got that cup game next weekend. We haven't got a game midweek, which is great. Would you take 4 points from those 2 games after that?
I'd snap your hand off it purely because Man City, I think getting a point off them is going to be very difficult. And look, this just makes further strengthens the point. Obviously, West Ham play Manchester United later on today, and depending on that result, I think if you looked at this Man City and you looked at our run in a couple of weeks ago, you'd be going, "Oh God, we don't want to be too far off the pace, or we don't want them too far up our backsides come that game because that's going to be hard, and we might need to win it." I think the fact that Leicester have done such a great job over the last 3 games, and obviously all season, but I'm talking when it comes to the crunch time and that game's more closer to it. West Ham are having a great season. Let's not forget they're probably just as informed as we are at the moment with how they're doing. If you can get out of Man City, have the 3 hit, should you say? Manchester United were able to beat them. There's no reason we can't do a double over them, but I'd take a point against Man City. I think anyone would. And if West Ham don't get 3 points today and don't keep that gap closed as it is, I think you go to West Ham because I believe that's away from home, isn't it? With our away record, I think you'd be very happy knowing that West Ham are on some very good form and are quite dangerous going forward and beat us pretty comprehensively early in the season 3-0. I would be happy taking the situation of manager as it is and coming away with a result, even if that's just a point, because I think that only benefits Leicester more if that's the situation when it comes round.
And it's going to help us, I think, as Roy said, Man United are away in the Europa League on Thursday. So that can only bode us well. Guys, I'm going to say thank you very much. It's been great. It's been lovely to talk about a win. And it's been lovely to talk about let's not mince our words, a stuffing, basically. It's almost like it's Christmas. I think We've got Man City. I think it's 5:00 next Sunday. So hopefully see you both post match. Then be around 7:30. Julian, as always, mate. Thanks for coming on and giving us the sensible view.
The cheek.
One of us has to know what they're talking about, and thankfully it's you.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thanks very much, mate. Take care, and hopefully see you next week. Cheers now. Bye-bye. And Brad, as well, thanks to you. And, of course, you always talk sense. A lot of it, but you do talk sense. Thanks for joining us, mate. FA Cup next week. Fingers crossed we're going to be through to the semis.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to be talking about that, especially, like you said, with the disappointment of going out of Europe. I know it's probably played a great advantage to the running in terms of it, but yeah, I'd like to say the FA Cup's doable now. We don't have the European competition to fight on, and we're kind of probably on to pastures new in that one. I think that'll be a one brief visit in that for this season.
Well, let's go. I'm going to go and watch the Tottenham Arsenal, and then I'm going to be cheering on a draw for the two draws, Arsenal and Tottenham. Although Arsenal winning would probably be better for us because
so far behind.
Probably would be, and then West Ham Man United draw.
Yeah,
Brad, like I say, as always, great to have you on. Thanks very much for coming on and giving us your thoughts. As always, it is thankful. I'm thankful for you coming on. We'll see you next week. Take care, mate.
Take care, mate.
Cheers. Thanks to Brad there. Two of them that know what they're talking about, and me. It's 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps. I think I'm the packet of crisps, I'll tell you. Well, who's watching Match of the Day tonight? I am. I don't know about you guys, but I am definitely watching Match of the Day tonight. And we might even be on first. I think we will, unless one of the other games produces a bigger shock than a 5-0. Look, if you want to catch up on the show, we are on, obviously, YouTube. Leicester Till I Die TV, and we would love it totally if you would be able to give us a like on there. That would be really appreciated, and a subscribe. And if you want to listen to us and play this back while you're doing something a lot more interesting, we're on your favorite podcast platform, as you can see there: Apple iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, and Google. And I think we're on Podcast Addict as well. Catch us there, listen up to us, catch up. Hey, it's been great. 5-0, men against boys. As I always say, it's almost like watching Brazil, isn't it? Just about. Take care, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Tuesday for the football show with me and Josh, and we'll see you next week for the FA Cup quarter-final, which will be a watch-along. So we're going to do another watch-along next week. Take care, guys. Stay safe. All the best. Thanks for joining us.
Hello,
Take care
Matt
now.
Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all their social media platforms for all the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.